What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Coffee with Dudes. So we got a good one today for you. So, like we've been doing a lot recently, going to ChatGPT, I found the top 5 mistakes that people make when trying to lose fat. It says it's backed by science and real world experience. And looking through this list, it looks really good. And so, what Matt and I are going to do today, we're finally back together, is we are going to go through this list and just give our intake or our take on all of these things. And first off, Matt, how you doing, brother?
Good man, good man. Feels good to be back. Feels good to be on the pod with my guy. And
Hell yeah.
I know it's not in the morning time, so we're not sipping our coffee, but I got me a Zevia here. You're getting your steps in. It just feels good to be back on a live call with you, man.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's good. And I'm using this walking pad. Marissa got it a little while back, and it's pretty cool, actually. It feels, I think it's louder for me than it probably is for people listening. And I
Yeah,
figure,
no, you're
kind
good,
of
man.
moving, talking, what better way to get a few extra steps in?
You're good, man. I could hear you loud and clear, brother. So
Good stuff.
we're good.
Well, hey, let's start it off here. So we'll just go through the list, just since it's probably going to be tough for you to guess these things. So I
Yeah.
think it's better for us to talk about them. So number one on this list is the mistake they make is drastically cutting calories too
Mm.
fast. And so this is a huge thing. And what comes to mind first for you when you think about this?
I literally had a conversation about this morning. This girl was talking about like how she wanted to start using my fitness pal. She's like, I've tracked calories, but I haven't really dove into macros yet. Um, my plans to lose body fat. I'd like to lose at least 25, 30 plus pounds if possible. I was like, great. So my first question to her was, have you ever tracked before macros specifically? She said, no, just calories. I said, cool. What I recommend to everybody is within the first 7 days is just to see where you're at first before you start making cuts. That's always my feedback to everybody. And that just literally comes from messing up so many times and seeing people struggle so many times and myself personally over the years struggling so many times is I think we're all so quick to jump to the diet, to jump to eating super lean, single ingredient, high quality foods, which is great. Like, and I'm not saying that you have to go about doing it this way. I just encourage people to do it this way by taking their time a little bit more and getting some data up front before they just jump straight into a cut. And because you want to understand how many calories you're cutting by first and where you're currently at, that's far more important than just going, well, I'm going to eat super clean and super healthy. Because the problem with it is, yes, on the surface, it's going to work extremely well. The downside is to how much and to what degree are you in a deficit? Like, how much are you in a deficit by? And if you don't know those numbers, you can get very similar and more sustainable outcomes by taking a more gradual approach. So, for example, if somebody's just going to eat super clean food and they went from eating 3,000 calories down closer to 1,500 now, and they're still super satiated, but the quality of their food went from like complete crap to super high quality, they may feel full and they may feel satiated, and they may get those as a byproduct by increasing the quality of their food. However, if they don't need to be in a deficit by 1,500 calories, then why do it? Like that's always my argument. And that's the thing that I try to set people up for success with the most right off the jump is like step one, figure out where you're at first so that you don't cut by too much. You don't drastically just slash your calories in half. And that's always my feedback to people.
No, that's great. That's the same thing that I've always done in my program too, is just like starting people off, figure out where you're at. Because then sometimes you get people who are eating way too low calories as it is. And the reason why they're not losing weight or fat at the time is because they can't really go lower than where they're at. They're eating 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, and you just can't create a calorie deficit when eating that. At a certain point, your body's so stressed that it just holds on to that body fat and it doesn't allow you to see the results. And so in those scenarios, you got to increase the calories slowly, do a reverse diet, get them back to maintenance before you can actually create it. So I think that's good advice. And a lot of times you do see people that are just going crazy in these, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 calorie deficits, and they're losing a lot of muscle, right? And
Yeah.
so that's the huge thing to think about here is that you might lose weight, but there's a large percentage of that that's muscle. Like that gradual 300, 500, 700 calorie deficit is going to allow more muscle to stay on your body, which is really what you want. Like we don't want like weight loss, we want fat loss, right?
Yes.
So I think that's
Yep. Yeah, man, totally agree. What's number two?
Number two, we got relying on cardio alone is the second
Yeah,
mistake.
that's a big one. And
Oh, yeah.
people, again, it's like pick your option and choose how you're going to pigeonhole yourself. If you're just like, if we're talking surface level answers, and that those are like definitely two of the most common, is like, let me cut my calories down drastically or just eat a lot less. And then the other one is I just want to be a cardio bunny because more equals better. It's that mindset of like more is better, more calories lost, more cardio, and being able to distinguish individuals and where they're at currently, I think is so important. And just going, well, when's the last time you ran? Because don't get me wrong, calories per time duration that you're doing it, if we're using running or cardio or whatever form of cardio, it is a high calorie burn to it based on the amount of time that you do it, right? The problem with it, one of which, and there's a couple problems with it. The problem with it is it's not sustainable, because a lot of times people go from not doing anything and then going to, I'm just going to go outside and go for a run. And they've been sitting on the couch for the last however many months or years. And we know that from experience what type of injuries come with that, right? Like, or nicks or bangs or tweaks or those sort of things. Not to mention going from zero and then straight into running, the amount of fatigue that you experience, the form breakdown, the fundamentals that just go out the window. Like, of course it leads to injury, right? And so even if it's not acute, but it's more of just like a compounded thing, that the likelihood and repeatability is very low on something like that, versus something that we talk about all the time, and what you're doing right now is steps, man, walking, right? Like that for me is a far more sustainable, more reliable thing that I'd recommend to people, and myself included. Now, do I neglect cardio? Absolutely not. Like, you got to include it. You got to have it for heart health. You got to have it for staying healthy and fit in general. But I think people are very quick to jump the gun on the whole cardio bandwagon just because they're thinking more is better. I'm not doing anything now. I better get my ass running. And I think that's a lot of us in that mindset, myself included. I used to be there too. I used to be like, I'm going to include runs. I'm going to do cardio, different forms, bike, row, skier. I'm going to do intervals, and then I'm going to do double days. Like, I was in that boat. That was me. And I was like, because I want to get lean, not because of all the other benefits that come from it. But I was like, that's the fastest way I'm going to lose fat. So I was definitely in that boat, man. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, for sure. These first two I've definitely done.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
done it so many times.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you're thinking about the calorie burn as opposed to, how much stress you're putting on your body. And again, it's the same thing as the first one. Like steep calorie deficit, you're going to be losing a lot of muscle. If you're only doing tons and tons of cardio, you're going to be losing a lot of muscle in the process. And so it's like the name of the game when it comes to fat loss is how much muscle can we keep on our body.
Yeah.
And that's why these small calorie deficits sometimes they can yield these huge results, or where we just see even like not even having a full calorie deficit, just changing the way you're eating,
Hmm.
changing like the quality of food. Sometimes people, they stay the same weight, but their body shifts in like a huge way. And
Yeah.
so that's why, like, again, don't exclude cardio from your plan, but make sure that you're also including resistance training and walking and different things. And like you said, with walking, the good thing about walking too, it's not putting stress on the joints in the body. Like when you're running and doing some of these hard, high intensity things, it can really like stress the body out. You see a lot more injuries, and you see all these different things come. So
Yeah.
definitely another good one. Third mistake on this list is cutting out entire food groups, like all carbs, all fats.
Yeah.
Uh, and this is all these are like just like spot on things,
Yeah.
right? Like it actually is a huge. And what comes to mind is like all of this stuff is just drastic, right? It's really the way that these mistakes are just like they're extreme, like extreme moves, like cutting out all carbs. Like it's just there's a lot of good carbs out there too. Like, and there's not necessarily good or bad foods. It's just a matter of cutting out all the carbs. People see these huge quick results because your body like carbs hold on to water, and so then you're reducing the water. You see the 10 pounds go down in 3 days, and they're like, "Oh, I'm on the right track." But it's unsustainable, right? It's like it's not sustainable for most folks to cut out whole food groups and like see results. And at the end of the day, like we always talk about, the biggest thing when it comes to fat loss or anything for that matter is sustainability. It's not
Yep.
like can I get there? It's can I stay there?
Yeah. 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 So important. And I encourage people anytime they're in that mindset or thinking of extremes, it's not that it doesn't work. It absolutely works when you think of extremes. But if you don't have a quick transition plan out of there to something more sustainable and you kind of just jump ship, you're like an all or nothing person. It's not that you're not going to get results. You absolutely can doing these things by cutting your calories, by focusing heavily just on primarily cardio, by eliminating food groups, like by doing those top three. They're so popular because they absolutely work. I think what you and I are harping on is like have a game plan and a strategy after it works, like a transition phase, something to move into a little bit more sustainable approach. Maybe like if you went from doing all cardio and you went from cutting out an extreme food group, it's just like maybe gradually start tapering back on the cardio just a hair and then reintroducing some of those food groups that you eliminated like gradually and find like a middle ground because it's always a good mindset and reminder to understand that anytime you're doing something extreme to one side, the pendulum's got to swing the opposite way. And so when you think in that mindset of like, okay, I'm going to eliminate something, I'm going to cut my calories, like, and it's super aggressive off to one side, the only thing left to do is to swing back all the other way. So if you can kind of find that middle ground and kind of toggle back and forth and figure out what works for you individually, even if you do go extreme, don't stay there long, like come back a hair and just find that comfortable, sustainable approach. And then that way you can keep the results that you got. You may not keep 100% of them, but instead of sliding all the way back, like we see most people do, and like I've done plenty of times, I think you can find that sweet spot, that middle ground, and you can really lock in and just find out what works for you versus doing cutting out food groups, solely doing a ton of cardio, and then that first one of just like figuring out, I'm going to just pick some arbitrary number and just slash my calories. I think that just doesn't set you up for success long term.
I couldn't agree. Exactly. We're thinking long term here.
Yeah.
And number four on this list is the mistake of ignoring sleep and stress.
Oh
And
man.
yeah, this is a huge thing, right? It's like we've talked about this, I feel like millions of times on the podcast, just the importance of these things. I'm not the best with this stuff, to be quite honest.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is probably the one that highlights me the most is like,
Yeah,
this is the one
it's
I'm the culprit at, it took me
yeah,
a long time to figure this one out.
exactly. It's a roller coaster. Like sometimes it's better than others, but it
Yeah.
is important, right? There's a lot of things you can do. I would say, like right now, I'm in a pretty good spot with stress. Sleep hasn't been the best, but that's just the way it is. Like I've been really focused on it as much as I probably should.
Hmm.
But we've talked about all the things that people can do. I mean, like when you do that, you're really not allowing yourself to see the results that you totally could. Stress is obviously a huge thing. When that cortisol's up, the body just wants to hold on to body fat like it's in a stress state. It's not going to, when you're stressing your body out, it's not going to give you the opportunity to lose body fat. It wants to hold on. It's in survival mode. And so it's like, we need to hold on to every piece of body fat because like it thinks you're going to die basically,
Yeah.
in a sense. And so it's whatever you can do in these different areas to help yourself out. If that's going on a walk, if that's like meditating, if that's just like taking some deep breaths, if that, I mean, sleep is the biggest thing like you can do to help with the stress levels, but like find different things that work for you to lower the stress to get yourself into a good place for sleep, and you're going to have a lot better results. I mean, I know that we've like this was the missing link for a lot of people that I worked with, where it
Yeah.
was like I went to and it's like, oh, they're sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night and they're getting really bad sleep. And it's like, okay, once we started dialing that in, it's like, okay, let's increase a little bit. Let's focus on a few things before bed that can maybe help you get a little bit more relaxed before sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe focus on, the hydration. Like there's a lot of different things that people can do. But once that sleep starts getting into a better place, you get 7+ hours of pretty quality sleep at night. It's crazy how much quicker the results start to happen.
Oh, it's huge, man. I look at sleep and stress as they go hand in hand, but they're also the gatekeeper to everything else. So like on my check-ins for my clients, it's the first thing I ask as far as their feedback and their information on how they're doing this week. I want to know those first, those two things first. Like how was your sleep? More so not just duration, but quality, and then how is your ability to manage stress, both internally and externally, right? And so if somebody has the inability to leverage those two things, it doesn't matter how well you're hitting your macros, how much you're crushing your workouts, like how well you're hitting your steps, like all that is mitigated, and you essentially are putting this huge damper and this threshold on your capabilities and your capacity to continue to progress. Because like you said, you're operating from a state of stress, higher levels of cortisol in the body. Cortisol is not bad, but when you have elevated levels, you're essentially telling and sending your signal to your body to say, hey, we need to survive. This is a survival situation, not an opportunity to thrive and burn body fat and build muscle and optimize everything else that we're doing. So that one took me a long time to figure out. I always thought, go, go, go. I'll sleep when I'm dead. I'm going to just bust my ass as hard as I can, and do those sort of things. And I unfortunately had to figure out a lot of these the hard way, the difficult way.
Yeah, I agree with you too on that. And the last one we have, your last mistake, is focusing only on the scale. And again, this list is like money, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
like,
Money list.
it's perfect. We've talked about all these things tons and tons of times in the podcast, but I think it's always good to have a reminder of this and to see it in a list. But what comes to mind for you when you think about this mistake?
I had to have a separate kind of video slash PDF slash module that I sent out to clients. And this is also after prefacing with, you will cross this bridge at some point. And being able to handle it and detach emotionally from the scale is something that is a skill that's going to have to be developed along the way. And if you don't already have it, it's fine. It can be learned and it can be practiced, but I've seen that thing derail more people than I think anything else. Like all the other things are big contributors, but I think that is the one that stands out to me the most from my experiences just working with clients. Is that's the thing that will get in between the ears the most and will completely get them off track of the things that are actually moving the needle for them in the first place, but they turn a blind eye to it because they're so hyper focused on something like the scale. And so unfortunately, I've seen it derail a lot of people if they choose to let it. It absolutely can, because it's easy. It's easy for anybody just to look at and think from a binary mindset, very black and white. The scale went up. I've been doing all of the things. I'm a failure. None of this stuff works. Why even bother? Screw it. I'm going to give up. And I've seen people in that state of mind. And unfortunately, it's a tough thing to battle, but those that persevere understand to view it from a different perspective, and that's not the only view that they have to choose, um, and realize it's one metric of many. They end up being successful. And then those who don't, there's tools, there's little tricks and hacks and ways to work around it and hide the scale and not do it. But like, it comes down to being able to be right between the ears, be in the right mental state of mind, and how you choose to view it is really everything.
Yeah, all that is for the longest time when I was working with clients, there was so many people that the biggest hurdle that I had as a coach was trying to get their focus off the scale, right? And you
Totally.
mentioned a lot of really, really good things where, it's like it, getting to a point where there's things where it's like, let's get rid of the scale for a while. Let's
Hmm.
focus on how your clothes are fitting. Let's
Hmm.
focus on how you're feeling, like the biofeedback of your energy levels, sleep, stress, quality of food, like different things that are like actually tangible. Inches on your waist, like different body measurements like that. And I always found that once you could get them to focus on that, some people took longer than others, but you start to get people to realize that over time, it's like, okay, wow, the scale thing, it doesn't tell the true story of what's going on. It sometimes it's going to say this number, like it could be due to, and I tried to get people to understand what the scale was, where it's like, okay, this scale, like here are all the different reasons why the scale could be up that day. Like a lot of times, keep people like I only do it on Mondays, right? It's like Monday's my scale day, and then it's like, well, what if Monday was just a day where it happened to have spiked up on you, right? And then the next day it comes down like 4 pounds, and you just happen to have it on the day where it was the highest because the day before you had a lot more salt, or you had like a bigger meal before bed, or you were stressed, a little bit more stressed that morning or that night. It's there's so many factors that go into it, and sometimes I had to harp on it over and over and over again before it would finally take, and then sometimes it just never did take. Right? It's like some people are just that's what they've been conditioned for decades and decades, and it's just tough to get them off of it. But just know that if you can focus on different measurements out there, you're going to be a lot better off, right? But the scale is a tool. It's a good tool that we can use to figure out if our calories are in a good place for the most part. And if if you measure yourself every day with it, if you're cool with that, if it's not a stressor for you, then it is something that can really tell, okay, where are we at? Especially when you're trying to be at maintenance, when that weight just levels off over the course of a week or two, you know, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm at maintenance here, and then we can start to get into a calorie deficit and see that results. But that's a good list, man. We got number one, all the mistakes, just to list them off. Number one, drastically cutting calories too fast. Number two, relying on cardio alone. Number three, cutting out entire food groups. Number four, ignoring sleep and stress. And lastly, focusing on the scale. Some good stuff here. Anything else you got to wrap us up? Wrap us up.
Oh man, I think those are all great messages. I wasn't surprised by any of the top five.
Yeah,
I'll say that they're very like common culprits, both that you and I have experienced personally and that we have with our clients. And so I think there can definitely be some gold nuggets that'll be shared in there. So we always ask for if you feel like a friend could benefit from it, a loved one, somebody that you know, like, hey, they definitely need to hear this message. That's all that we ask is you share it with somebody. And we're coming out with pods still every Tuesday and Thursday. I'm glad to be back on the pod with you, man.
good shit. Have a good one, guys.